feels early. It's real early. It's 6:32 a.m. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. And y'all, it has been a journey. Like, so, hey, who gonna tell them? Who gonna tell them they can't go? Who gonna tell them they can't come? Who gonna tell them? It's Thanksgiving now. They bought their ticket. They waiting. They waiting. They waiting. They waiting. They waiting. I say this. I want to make sure the light is on. I say, tell them they can't come. They're not invited. They didn't invite you to everything. You wasn't invited to certain stuff just because you didn't fit. You ain't fit the room. And I'm not saying that as, oh, now it's time to be spiteful or petty. I'm saying recognize that you're not invited because you do not meet the bare minimum criteria. You are above average. You are top tier. You are a chef's kiss. And we're not saying you're this all the time. But we are going to say we're this most of the time. Most of the time we're this. When we wake up in our right mind, give thanks to God. Yeah, I got to find me some rich and expensive ass water. Because this water I've been drinking ain't it. But we're going to have car talk. Conversation and car talk. Because sometimes it just get like that. Everybody can't go with you. Just like you can't go with everybody. You can't sit at every table because there is there's a bare minimum criteria that you just don't meet. You just don't meet it. And a lot of times your feelings might be hurt. And you're not even thinking about it as far as a bare minimum criteria that you don't meet. But I'm going to tell you, there is a criteria of bare minimum that you do not meet. And because that's probably annoying, right? Okay. So yeah, there's a bare minimum criteria that you don't meet. So you weren't invited. And let's say there's a criteria of wanting, having the will that they just do not meet. And at some point in time, we have to stop allowing people to come and knock on doors. Because I feel like the knock is for attention. Because when you know that you're meant to be in the room, you're not knocking. You're not going to request, can I come in? You're just going to walk in. So I say if they're coming to your door, not recognizing that your door is doors of opportunity, doors of abundance, doors of freedom, and they're coming to distract you from what you're doing so that you can come and open the door for them. Meanwhile, you had to open that door for yourself. It wasn't no knocking. You was knocking? I don't think so. I don't think you was knocking. I think you probably sat there and maybe had some overthinking. Like, I don't know. Is this the right though? Maybe you look back, like, oh, ain't no more those back there. Yeah, because you didn't walk through all of those. What you think you got to do with this next one in front of you? Oh, you're afraid to walk through it because of how those doors looked when you walk through it? I say this, there's going to be 100 in 1 doors. Or for some people, they see it as 10 doors. For some people, they see it as 1,000 doors. But know that you're seeing it by multiplication of 10. 10 being a very powerful number. And outside of that, knowing statistics, out of 10 customers, right? If I go and I prospect 10 people, out of those 10, how many do you really think statistically I'm going to get? Without trying to oversell them, without trying to manipulate their mind and emotional feeling in a way that only benefits me and truly doesn't benefit them, because the only thing I want from them is a benefit that only comes to me. So without doing those things, out of the 10 people, because fear is a real thing, if I provide you the knowledge and substance of what you need to do, even if, because people are going to be like, okay, so since you got it to tell me, why you ain't did it? And I say, oh, clock it. Clock that T. Clock it. Okay. Why I ain't did it? Because every day takes work. So if you get up every day and you're like, I love that person that you're becoming. Anybody got them people in their life? I love the person that you're becoming. I really am. You're so transparent. You're so trustworthy. And I couldn't think of anybody else that I would want to call on other than you. You listening to that and you're like, okay, when I'm telling you, this is what you need to do to get this area of a mess of your life together. Because when I had this area of a mess of my life, these are the things that started to help mold and shape and redirect, transform, and transition me into this better version that you love so much. Oh, but baby, it get weary. It get weary because when you start establishing them boundaries for real, baby, they start looking at you like, but I used to be able to. Yeah, used to. And they looking at you like, okay, but I was comfortable doing this. That's fine. But you were making me uncomfortable while you were trying to sort through if that was something you should be doing to me or not. Last night rather, a few hours ago, there was a situation that happened with one of my siblings, and I posed this exercise. And of course, if you tell someone this is an exercise, I want to see what you're gonna do. Of course, they're gonna do what they expect you to see them do, right? They're gonna do, if I say, hey, I'm gonna put this right here, and I want to see if you're gonna touch it or not. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to touch it because they have an expectation that you have an expectation that they're not going to touch it. So instead of saying what that experiment was, I chose to just do it. So noticing that there's some fear of stepping into who they need to become so that things don't go more haywire than what they are, I began to close the door. And we're talking about a physical door. So I'm on one side of the threshold. She's in the threshold, okay? She's in the threshold. I didn't use any terms of step back, move back, or anything like that. All I said was, excuse me. And I began to close the door. Excuse me. Because in the Bible it says, treat those with kindness. Treat people with kindness. So just because I set a boundary, me closing that door is the boundary. However, a person has the ability and the power to counteract that boundary if they have the will to fully step into the boundary and abide by those guidelines. They're not rules. They're not stipulations, and they're not conditions. These are boundaries. I love you unconditionally, meaning I know you gonna fuck up, meaning I know you're not gonna set through on these boundaries that I've set for myself. Even if I hold you accountable, you're gonna make it my fault for why you can't do it if you don't want to. Remember in the beginning I said you gotta want it. And sometimes people don't want to just sit at the table. How many times do we hear, okay, so what you bringing to the table? And then a person say, well, I don't know. What does the table require? So you're not going to bring anything? I didn't say that. I'm posing questions. I need more information. There's more data that is needed to be collected before I start to enter, data entry, before I start to enter or insert myself into a situation that I do not know will be beneficial for both parties. Because if I bring something that's already there, who's that benefiting? So if I have capabilities and you have someone at the table that already has these capabilities, we are not in competition with one another. We are only in competition with ourselves. So unless I feel the need to come to a table and bring exactly the same things and then be in some form of competition of, oh, I have to make sure this is a little bit different. We're going to constantly be at that tug of war. And I'm telling you now, to stop the tug of war, and this is something I realized yesterday. To stop the tug of war. You know, sometimes things happen with people and we're like, my feelings are hurt. I'm not even angry, but my feelings are hurt. Maybe I'm disappointed. Maybe I really had expectations that this would play around or play out so much different. And it's showing me that it's not. So to stop that tug of war, guess what? You got to revoke the invitation. Only certain people was able to sit at the table with Jesus. Only certain people. So why do we feel like we cannot set these boundaries? Yes, you can come and eat here. It wasn't that he said anybody could come, but you had to come bearing fruit. You had to come giving something. So stop letting people sit at your table with open plate, open hands, waiting for the meal to drop, and they haven't been in the kitchen with you. They didn't bring no groceries. They didn't bring no utensils. They didn't bring anything to drink. They brought no bread, no rolls. They brought no napkins. Stop letting these people come to your table without having some form of a question of what are the requirements to sit with you. That's it. I am asking if I want to take seats at this table with particular people. I have asked them, what does it take? What do you do? And when they give me that information, I'm not going to just try it for a week. I'm not just going to do it for right now. And then when it don't work, because right now for me could be 14 days. And now I'm upset because now I'm hitting challenges. I'm hitting challenges now. And now I'm like, oh, this is just not for me. So guess what? That's not for me, but that's the requirement to sit at this table. So what does that mean? I don't get to sit at that table. I can't meet the requirements. Who do I have to be mad at other than the person I'm looking at right there? Other than her. I can't be mad at no one else other than her for why I do not want to meet the requirements to sit at tables that I so badly desire. I say that's the message. Stop letting people sit at your table that do not want to ask what's the requirements. And stop going to people's tables and not asking what are the requirements. Because when you're sitting amongst people and it looks like y'all all do the same thing, y'all all in the same space, okay, none of us help each other because we're stuck in the same areas. And now we're stuck on that. It's time to have a different perspective. Happy Thanksgiving. Let's be thankful for the table to be set.